guys, it's Christy with Stone Family Farmstead. Today, we're gonna make pickles.
Bird on a tree. I'm just sitting here. I got time.
Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do when we make pickles is to wash them. Sometimes there might be a little blossom on the end. You can just throw that away. These are pickling cucumbers, so these particular ones have a lot of nubs on them with some pointy things on it. So I want to get those off of there. You can just scrub them with a brush. This. I don't know if you can see this or not, but usually I harvest every day. I don't get this many pickles every day, but I harvest every day and I'll keep them for, you know, 5 to 7 days in the fridge and the crisper, and I will just wait until I have enough to make pickles. Pickling cucumbers, if you didn't already know, are actually pretty good in salad too, just like other cucumbers. They're a little bit different, and I'm sure that they're probably a little different depending on the variety you get. Okay, so this is a new thing that I have learned about this year especially. I mean, I've learned it in past years, but I just didn't remember it this year. But if you harvest your pickles when it's hot, or if they were on the vine during hot weather, you can taste a pretty severe bitterness in some of them. Yeah, like in this one. A lot of times what I do is I'll cut the ends off and give them to my dog, and if she eats them, then I know that it's probably a sweet cucumber. But if she doesn't eat it, if she drops it out of her mouth, that usually means that it's not good. She didn't drop this one, I don't think. Oh, yeah, maybe she did. Yeah. One thing that's really hard is that if you're testing all these cucumbers, one after the other, that bitterness is going to sit in your mouth for a little bit, and it'll taste like all of them are bitter. So I'm going to just cut the ends off of all of these, and I'm going to figure out which ones are bitter and which ones are not over the next few minutes, and that way you don't have to watch me do that. Want to help? Is that a good one? I did a little research for you guys and for myself about why pickles go bitter. And so here's what people are saying. I looked on davesgarden.com, just give them credit where it's due, and some people were talking on there, experienced gardeners, and they were saying that they noticed that when they harvest their pickles too late, meaning like they've been on the vine for too long, or if they have, and they said that the reason why cucumbers will go bitter is usually because they're on the vine too long, or if they are overripe. So it's kind of, they go together really. What's the matter, Bella? She wants to help me test the cucumbers some more. The other thing that I also read, let's see, I want to give credit where it's due, on a website called Wonder How To, okay, is that there is something called cucurbitacin, which concentrates in the leaves and the stems and the roots, and it doesn't usually move into the cucumber itself, but it can. So that's probably goes hand in hand with what the people on Dave's Garden were saying, that it's a possibility that the I'm not going to get this right. Cucurbitacin has the opportunity to move into the cucumbers if they are left on the vine too long or if they're overripe. So does that make sense? I've also heard in other places, and I'm sorry I don't have anyone to credit because I don't remember where I got this information, was that what I said before is if the plant is not getting enough water or if it's too hot, and maybe those two go hand in hand as well. So after I cut all these off, I tasted them. Okay, if the cucurbitacin is going to be concentrated in the stems, leaves, and vines, and it's going to move into the cucumber, common sense says that it's going to move through the vine side of the cucumber. And I don't have a cucumber with a vine side on it because I cut them all off. But okay, so this is the vine side. This is the side that's probably going to have the most cucurbitacin or bitterness in it. So just remember that. What I was doing before was I was cutting off both ends, and I think I was tasting the vine side. So let me go to the fatter end, which is usually, well, not usually, but most of the time, I guess, I don't know. To me, it seems like most of the time, the fatter end is the end that is the flower end, okay, not the vine end. So let me taste it. Yeah, much sweeter. Okay, so I learned something. I'm trying to teach you guys, I learned something. Okay, I'm gonna check and see which all ones are bitter and which ones are not by checking the other end, and then we will get to making the pickles. Okay, after all of these cucumbers, Bella and I tested them all, and about 6 of them were not gonna be acceptable for pickles. I did read somewhere else online that if you have bitter pickles, you can add a little sugar to your pickles, but I don't like sugar in my pickles, so I really don't want to try that. But if any of you have done that before or corrected bitterness in pickles before, I would love to hear about that, because I have about 6 bitter pickles here right now that I have no idea what to do with except for give to the chickens. So. But we tasted all these, Bella and I, and turns out she might be kind of okay with bitter cucumbers. So, hey, live and learn. But these ones all tasted good to me. And so I'm just going to quarter them all. And just for the sake of time restraint, I am just going to make 1 pint jar of these, just so you can get the basic idea. But you can just do this over and over and over using this method. I learned this years ago from reading Wardy Harmon's The Complete Idiot's Guide for Fermenting Foods, and I sort of just made this my own. I made dilly beans with it, and so I learned how to make a salt brine. And so basically all this is 3 tablespoons of sea salt to 4 cups of water, and you just dissolve the salt in it. And basically I make it beforehand, and then I just put it in the refrigerator, and it's just salt water, so I've never had it go bad or anything like that. So I'm just going to keep doing it until I have some kind of adverse reaction, unless one of you guys messages me or leaves me a comment and says, don't, you're gonna die. So anyway, next thing that you do is get your quartered cucumbers and go ahead and just put them in. If you don't want to quarter them, that's fine. I've done this with halves before, and that's good too. It kind of reminds me of the those old Del Monte dill halves, those were my favorite when I was a kid, and so that's what I'm trying to make the closest flavor to. But I do like other flavors as well. Last time I made pickles, I actually put some jalapeno slices in, and that was super good. So if you like spicy dills, that's really good. But most of the time I just make garlic dills, and those are, you know, really just my favorite. I guess I'll just set a few on top here. So what you want to do is you want to fill up the jar up to about an inch below the top of the jar. All right. And I like a lot of dill, and I use dill seed for this, and it works out really well. And I'm going to put about a tablespoon in of dill. I like a lot of dill. I like my pickles to be like super dill, and I like them to be kind of garlicky too. Usually what I'll do is put a teaspoon of minced garlic, and that works out just fine, but I also like to use fresh garlic. Okay, so I've got those two things in. If you want to add anything else at this point, like jalapenos or something, you can, but just make sure it stays under the 1 inch. Now this one looks a little over, but I think it'll still be okay, and I'll show you why in a few minutes. But just make sure that all the vegetables and herbs are underneath the water. If you will be using what I use, which are these glass weights, and I'll leave a link in the show notes to this. And I bought this 5-pack from Amazon for about $17, and they gave me a free, I don't even know what these are called, but it's a silicone lid. And the way that these are used is, this is your weight, and the purpose of the weight is to keep everything, the vegetables and everything, underneath the water. Otherwise they'll mold, and you don't want that. It ruins the whole thing. You have to throw it away. So I'm going to set the weight on top there, and the size that I got fits right into my wide mouth canning jars. And then the way you use this silicone item is you just pop it right into a canning ring, and then you go ahead and just twist this on. And with this silicone thing, you can twist it on pretty tight. So just go ahead and twist it on pretty tight, and what you're going to do is you are going to leave this on your counter, and it's going to bubble and it'll turn colors. Okay, but they don't stay looking beautiful, and that's really okay. That just, you know, is what happens. But in about 3 days to a week, it just depends on how hot it is in your house, I have to pretty much cut the fermenting time in half. So that's, you know, how I do it. So I'll put these on my counter for 3 days, but if it doesn't get too hot in your house or anything, go for it and let them go a week. There will be bubbles, and it will start looking, you know, like not as pretty and vibrant in color, but that's all right. Once the 3 to 7 days is up and you think they're done, then you can store them in the refrigerator and then just eat them when you want to. They stay good to me, they stay good for a very, very long time. I've heard people say 2 weeks. So if you want to be careful and, you know, just figure out how they do in your fridge, then, you know, just go with 2 weeks. So I'll show you what the finished product looks like. This is one that I did with both quarters and halves, and this one is with jalapenos in it. And I'll taste one so you can see how delicious these are. Spicy, and the longer you leave them, the spicier they'll get. And then the regular dills are just as delicious. It just depends on what you're going to be eating them with or how you like them, really.
Like a bird on a tree,